Hello and welcome to The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
And for those of you joining us for the first time, this is a podcast where we talk about comic books, movies, video games, statues, the things that make us broke throughout the week.
Exactly, and we always started off with a bit of news, and then before we jump into the comic books, as we reach the end of the year, 2013, we're going to have a special portion at the end of the podcast where we do a summary of some of our favorite or least favorite things regarding video games, comics, movies, all kinds of stuff.
First up, we're going to start out with some Disney news. Disney has finally finalized the ownership of Indiana Jones from Paramount by securing the marketing and distribution rights.
I always felt that Disney always kind of had Indiana Jones in their pocket already, but I guess Paramount was the ones that owned it, and Disney was just making money off of it, kind of like they're doing with Marvel. Except they do own Marvel, except they're not even touching it. They're not really telling them what to do.
That's smart, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel was doing great on its own. Let's just buy them and make more money. That's really smart. But no, I get what you're saying. Like, Hollywood Studios has the Indiana Jones show. Mm-hmm. So I always assumed that it was Disney. Guess it was Paramount.
With every bit of news like this, there's always the negative backlash immediately, just with everyone. Like when they first bought Marvel, everyone's like, we're going to see Mickey Mouse and Spider-Man books, and everything's going to be kiddified.
Why do people think that? That's silly.
It's the knee-jerk reaction. Just remember that the Ben Affleck news just from like a couple months ago, and now people are like, you know what, it's looking okay. It looks like I might see it now. And they use like Wonder Woman as an excuse, or just a recent picture of Ben Affleck actually in shape and looking like he's getting ready for Batman and taking it seriously. You know, at first I hated it. Now I think he's going to be a good Batman. Like, fuck you, dude. Even, whatever.
It's true. Yeah, but I guess what I don't understand that people don't realize at this point is that Disney is so smart. Like, with their money, with stuff like this, when they see something working, they're not going to touch Star Wars. They didn't touch Star Wars. The only thing they really did with Star Wars is they put Mickey Mouse and Stitch and all that stuff in Star Wars costumes and made even more money. Because people are like, I love Star Wars and I love Donald Duck. And look, he's like fucking Han Solo. Let's buy this thing. Like, that's all they do with their stuff. They stick them in, like, their characters and stuff that you already like and take your money.
And really right now with the Star Wars movies, I can only see them improving them. I mean, let's face it, episodes 1, 2, and 3, they were fun, they were entertaining. But with George Lucas no longer writing, I think they can actually make better movies.
And they have kind of the sky's the limit for a budget now. I don't know if any of you out there know how much Disney makes. They make a lot of money.
They own shit that you didn't even think that they owned. ESPN.
I am convinced they own half of Florida. Like, literally.
Half the U.S., half the world.
It would not surprise me. But yeah, like you said, ESPN, ABC Family, they own all that America's Funniest Home Videos. They make money off of that. Mm-hmm. Every time you laugh at a kid blowing up a balloon in his pants and it pops, they take some of your money.
Have you ever liked any of the Indiana Jones movies as a kid?
I remember seeing The Holy Grail. That's the only one that I ever remember watching. And I remember liking that a lot.
The only one I remember watching, other than the Indiana Jones 4, that last one where he was really old,
the
it came out a
Crystal
couple.
Skull?
Yeah, Crystal Skull.
Never saw that one.
That one, it wasn't very good. But as a kid, I saw the one with the underground people and the heart, and he had like the little voodoo doll, and he kept stabbing Indiana Jones. Was that the second one?
I don't know, but that guy was creepy. Where he's like, "You mo goi goi fagi sao," and he like rip out your heart.
Yeah, that's the one.
In your chest.
As a kid, I was afraid. It was kind of creepy. I'm like, oh,
the Holy Grail scared me too, because that was the one they open up. No, that was the Ark of the Covenant, where their face like peels off. Ugh.
Everyone uses that clip.
But no, I remember the one scene that I remember most from the Holy Grail was when he gets into the cave and there's the pictures of all the people like falling to their deaths. And then they're like, no, just have faith and walk across. And then there was really a rock thing there that you couldn't see because it's all rocks. I'm like, I don't think that would really happen, but thanks, guys. That's what I remember the most. Other than that. And my dad used to have the Indiana Jones hat and the whip, and I didn't want to know why he had either of those things. But he had them.
So that's pretty big news for Indiana Jones fans out there. It means that there are more on the way. Obviously, they wouldn't invest money or buy this franchise unless they had like shows or a couple more movies in the works. Harrison Ford, I don't know if he's returning. I don't know if there's already news out there on him speaking about it or talking about returning, or if they're going to go the route of like recasting and making a new Indiana Jones.
Are they trying to buy Harrison Ford?
Oh, because of
Star Wars? Indiana Jones? What else is he been in?
What Lies Beneath? And it gets bought by Disney. The cast from High School Musical.
It turns out Harrison Ford owns Disney now. He's just like, buy all my things.
On to the next bit of news, though. We saw Pokemon Origins, the Japanese version, a while ago on YouTube. It went up, subtitles. But now the English version has gone up. All 4 episodes. We finally got around to seeing all 4. It did get censored, like we thought it would. The scene in which Charmander gets bitten by the Squirtle and he's screaming for like what seems like 10 seconds.
Forever. It was hard to watch, yeah.
And you're not even really seeing him. You're just listening to him and watching Red's face as he fucking doesn't retreat his Pokemon. He does that moment in Rocky 4 when Rocky does not throw the fucking towel and Drago kills Apollo. That's what he was doing with Charmander, except at the last second he fucking withdrew him. But they cut that out. What else were they cutting that we noticed?
There was the scene with Cubone's mother.
Oh, that's right.
You didn't hear her scream nearly as much when she was killed. Mm-hmm. They changed Green's name from Green to Blue.
Really?
You don't remember?
No, I don't.
I thought I pointed it out to you. Yeah, in the Japanese version, his name was Green. Mm-hmm. Because Red picks Charmander because he goes, my name's Red and Charmander's Red, and let's pick him. And then Green goes, well, I'm not going to choose a Pokemon for that stupid of a reason. I'm going to pick Squirtle. Because he should pick Bulbasaur because his name is Green. Well, in the English version, his name is Blue. Mm-hmm. Which makes sense because in the games that we got, it was Red and Blue.
Right.
Who you were fighting. So it makes sense, but it still kind of pissed me off. Because I'm like, now he just picked the color because he picked the same color. You guys are babies.
So that did change. I think they were both really good. They were both acted really well. Mm-hmm. I liked the differences in voices between that and like the Pokemon anime that's been running for years. They didn't try...
Oak's voice, man. I wanted to hear, welcome to the world of Pokemon. I was waiting for that.
Instead, it was like a young 20-year-old, like, welcome to Pokemon. And Giovanni as well.
That was great. Giovanni was totally gay for Red. Literally. This feeling in my blood, this excitement. I'm like, whoa.
Emotions. He says it like 17 times during that battle as he watches Red, like, give orders, and he's just watching him like, oh, this boy.
On a serious note, though, I did think it was really great. It made the game seem more real to me, going back and remembering, going through these same things that we're watching happen. I feel like they're more meaningful now. Did you get that too? Yeah,
I did. I felt very much the same way. And what I liked about it too is they took the little details, kind of like the white hand on Red's shoulder, and they put it in the anime, like those little moments that you remember, and now you're seeing it fully animated, like, oh shit, that hand really is there.
Or even stuff like when you would see him beat trainers and they would have the things that they said. Mm-hmm. It's the same things from the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was great because I'm like, I remember. The one I remember most, I'm sorry, going back to my nostalgia, is in Mount Moon, in that cave. There's a guy you walk up to. What did he say? He sings a song.
It was...
Fired Away is the last thing he says when you beat him, but I don't remember the first part of the song.
Hit me with your best shot.
Yep. And then you beat him and he goes, fired away. I just imagine him singing it like that in the middle of this cave. I'm like...
Whoever wrote that did not give a shit.
No.
This is what we're going to put now.
But I definitely recommend watching it. It's free online. Why not? Mm-hmm. And like we said, it makes the game so much more... Like, I want to go through and play through it all again and be like, oh, I'm making Giovanni care. Making him care about Pokemon again. Remembering his childhood. Not just, I'm stopping you, motherfucker. Like, it's meaningful now.
Mm-hmm. And it is available on Pokemon TV, which has an app for your Android or iDevices. So you can watch it right on your phone as well, or on your tablets, whatever it is, your computer. That's what we ended up watching it on. Mm-hmm. And it streams. It's also on YouTube if you really want to see the Japanese version.
I will say Oak is as much of a dick in this as he was in the game.
What do you mean?
Well, with his grandson, like, he comes up in the game and in this, right after you beat Blue, and he's like, my asshole grandson, I heard you beat it, Red, and I was like, gotta rush down there. Gotta go congratulate Red. See, you Blue are stupid. I'm like, that's your grandson. At least say, hey, sorry you got beaten. Or good job on getting this far. No, not you were stupid.
Just puts him down the entire time.
Come on, Red, let's go in here.
I still wish it would have been, again, the animated version of the manga, in which he chooses Bulbasaur and you see Venusaur and Charizard.
You just want to see Bulbasaur. Okay, that was one thing that I didn't like. But they had to push those megas. They had to push Mega Charizard, Mega Dark Charizard, because it's the coolest looking of the original megas.
I guess.
Let's just,
it is.
Really, you like your little Hawaiian flavor Venusaur?
Well, I'm saying...
with the flower on his ass.
I'm saying none of the three actually look any good.
And the little vines hanging from his little bigger flower.
Or Blastoise just turns into a bigger water gun.
He turns into a cannon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like many of the Mega designs, but you're right that Mega Charizard, I guess, would be the best of the three.
So they had to push the shit out of that.
Or four, because Charizard has two, for whatever fucking reason. Just give him two.
I don't know. Charizard was big back in the day.
Once they do Pokemon Z, I bet you that Blastoise and Venusaur will get an extra, Mega form.
That'd be so cool.
And hopefully they can do a better design.
Do they have a Mega Vileplume?
Not yet.
They need one.
They do.
Kick ass.
That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do Pokemon Z, and look at all these Pokemon. They all have Megas now. Mega Ditto, Mega Taurus.
Mega Ditto, that would be awesome. What does he do?
It's just a pink muck.
He just gets bigger.
So we do recommend Pokemon Origins.
Definitely.
And before we jump into some comic book news, I did put out a question over Twitter and Instagram. Young Link or Old Link? Which version and why? This is from The Legend of Zelda. We got a couple of responses from @Pandanime. Young Link because I love his falling scream the best, and his dungeons are my favorite.
We have one from @geek_omnivore, who says, Adult Link because he looks awesome that way, but the last Zelda game I played was Ocarina, so I don't know if I'm up to date. I haven't played any Link games, so you're more up to date than me.
And finally from Jonathan... This was probably my favorite response. @JonathanH_64, who said, Ocarina of Time. That's it.
That's all you need.
Just Ocarina of Time.
I still think his name is Jonathan.
Jonathan.
But thank you all very much for responding. It's always great to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I'll have another Twitter question sometime this week. We'll read it on a future podcast episode.
I want to make it up.
Okay, you can make up the next question.
It's going to be silly.
Do you have it already?
No, but it's going to be silly. Should Batman be with Catwoman or Catwoman?
Not a fair question.
It's a very fair question.
For me, I would have to say my favorite Link would be the Adult Link. Simply because in Ocarina of Time, when you do turn into Adult Link, it almost feels like the stakes were raised. Like everything changed. The different towns were different. Ganondorf was more powerful than ever. And you really felt like a sense of importance when you turned into Young Link or Old Adult Link. Whereas when you were Young Link, you were, saving like this little kid from inside the whale, or you were trying to heal the Deku Tree. But as Adult Link, you're facing off against witches and like Shadow Link, so a shadow version of yourself, and it just got more epic when you're Adult Link. And I kind of get that same feeling when I play, for example, Twilight Princess, the new Skyward Sword. Even though I didn't really like it, I was glad that you got to play as Adult Link. So for me, it would be Adult Link.
He's more handsome when he's an adult. Like I said, I haven't played the Zelda games because somebody won't get me one.
Well, you do have one of the best ones in years, apparently, A Link Between Worlds, just released.
I do, but I don't have time to play Pokemon or Kingdom Hearts, or there's this thing called work that takes over your life sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it's the holidays.
Yeah, the holidays. I'm surprised we're actually keeping up in December.
I'm surprised, too. Where do we find time? I don't know. We're not sleeping, guys. We're on a lot of coffee right now. This is all for you.
This free show.
On to some DC news. A second weekly Batman comic will launch on Free Comic Book Day 2014. It will be called The New 52 Future's End, which makes Batman Beyond officially in main DC continuity.
Something that I give full credit to Batman the Animated Series for. We wouldn't have Batman Beyond
You
without
give him
Batman the
credit
Animated
for
Series.
everything. Good job, Batman the Animated Series for Damien. Good job, Batman the Animated Series for Red Hood. Thank you, Batman the Animated Series for everything Batman. That's what you do.
Batman stemmed from Batman the Animated Series. Who's Bob Kane? Is that the Gray Ghost? I guess it's kind of like the Gray Ghost. All the money that they make from this Batman Beyond book, again, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, because they created the Batman Beyond universe. Batman Beyond is interesting because it's a cartoon that didn't really last that long. I think it was only like 2 seasons. Yet it stuck with so many people. It kind of hit that sweet spot right after Batman the Animated Series, after those viewers kind of moved away. And the newer viewers, a lot of them, Batman Beyond is actually their Batman cartoon show. You start seeing that because they've reached that age where they can share how much they like Batman Beyond. They can start buying merchandise because they're starting to get, their own jobs and everything. And that's where you're starting to see Batman Beyond t-shirts, Batman Beyond toys and statues, the one we bought.
Oh, it's so nice. Thank you, Dustin Nguyen.
Someone like me who grew up on Batman the Animated Series doesn't like Batman Beyond as much, but, connects to the animated series. So I'm going to continue the story.
And you
I'm
still
going
have
to keep
old
reading
Bruce.
it. And you have Old Man Bruce, played by Kevin Conroy. That's probably what got me through the show. And the occasional villain returning, like Mr. Freeze or Ray Talia.
Even though Mr. Freeze was just a head in a jar with little spider legs.
And blame season 4 for that. And for that wasn't Batman the Animated Series' fault. That was Fox and their toys and all that bullshit. But this is another weekly comic book. It is joining the Batman Eternals comic book. We're not going to be getting this one either, though. Way too expensive. I mean, a book every single week. It's already bad enough with Superior Spider-Man. We're trying to keep up with that.
Pretty much every week.
Pretty much every week. And now you have another one, which is great to see. Batman Beyond is finally in DC continuity. We saw the Batman Beyond suit in the Batman New 52 series, like 4 or 5 months ago, where you had the prototype and Lucius Fox was like, it still has probably like 40 years until it becomes sufficient to use. And so that was a cool nod to it. But that does mean that Terry McGinnis will be in the comics, I guess, in some point, and we're going to see him first as a part of whatever continuity they're trying to build in the New 52 Future's End.
Awesome. Can't wait.
A new Nightwing has been revealed, maybe. Batman number 28 will jump ahead in the Batman timeline to introduce a new character designed by Dustin Nguyen.
Dustin Nguyen. That needs to play every time he walks in a room. That's amazing. I am so cool. Dustin, are you listening? Walk in a room and just go, Dustin Nguyen.
If you go to newsarama.com, it'll be one of the top stories because it is a really good design for the character. Has the Nightwing colors pre-52, so it's the black and blue, and it almost has the Nightwing logo on the chest. And everyone is speculating on whether it is actually Nightwing and who the character is. It looks a lot like Harper Row.
That would be awesome. I didn't think about that. We're all thinking she's going to be the next Robin. That's cool. I approve.
If she was the next Nightwing, I think I'd pick up the Nightwing again.
A lot less whiny.
Yeah, that's true. And now it's designed by Dustin Nguyen. I wonder if that's going to be his project now, or if he just designed the character.
Whatever Dustin does, I will buy. Dustin Nguyen to me is as Paul Dini is to you. That's on the SATs, kids. Pay attention.
So we do like this new character. Mm-hmm. Again, speculating that it is Nightwing, and that'd be great if it was.
I want Dustin to be like, I was just fucking around, guys. This is just for fun.
It's just a sketch I did.
You're all blowing this way out of proportion.
But with this, the 0 year did get actually pushed back a month for the special issue, which will jump into the future. I think this is like a taste of what they're doing for their third event since launching the New 52. The third event is 5 years later. And we talked about that, I think, 2 weeks ago. And now we're going to get another jump in the timeline forward, but before the September big event that DC always does.
I think it's cool. I can't wait. Also, DC Comics March Solicitation have some revelations. First of all, Batman the Dark Knight, written by Greg Hurwitz, is coming to an end.
Yeah, one of many series that wasn't on the March solicitations for DC Comics.
So sad.
What's interesting about this cancellation, I guess, is that Batman the Dark Knight was consistently solid in numbers and sales. I think it was the fourth best-selling Batman book, so it wasn't near like Batman or Batman and Robin, but it still was really profitable for DC. And when Greg Hurwitz said, I'm done telling the stories for the series, this is pretty much it. I said what I wanted to say with Man-Bat and Clayface and everything. I'm stepping away from the book. DC, instead of putting another writer or another artist or whatever on the book, they just said, okay, well, we're just ending the series with Greg leaving. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it's smart from a business sense, because they could have just thrown any fucking writer in there and it would have still kept selling. But I guess they have a book that they want to replace it with.
Yes and no. For example, the Green Lantern series.
With Jeff Johns?
Once Jeff Johns left, how many people stepped off that book?
Yeah, but Greg Hurwitz isn't Jeff Johns.
Well, I get that. But he's done such a great job, it would be difficult to live up to the legacy that he had. So do you want people to say Batman the Dark Knight was great and now it's not so great? Or that whole run was awesome, go pick up the trades? Because that's what we're going to tell people now is, that it was only, a year, 2 years long? But it was all fantastic. Go pick up the trades. Whereas if they got a new writer and it wasn't as good and so we stepped off of it, then I would say the earlier ones were good, but it's not really that great now. So just don't even, it wouldn't be on your radar anymore. I think it's smart to... and it's good for him, too, to just be like, you're irreplaceable, or we don't feel like hiring somebody else, whatever their reasoning is. But I think from a business standpoint, it's not unwise.
My favorite comment is that I read on the news was, they'll just replace it with another Batman book.
I hope so.
It's like, really? You think? Oh, good. I was a little worried that I'd have one less Batman book. You can't have too many Batman books. That's the thing. People complain about the Batman books. There being too many. That's what sells.
Yeah.
You want to stop the Batman books? Stop buying them. But they're so good. Why would you stop?
But don't stop buying them.
The next one that is also ending on similar terms, actually, I'm going to jump ahead to Animal Man by Jeff Lemire. He also said the same thing. He's done telling Animal Man's story, and he wants to move on to putting the character into the Justice League of America team. And with that, DC also ended the book. They said if Jeff Lemire's done, then Animal Man is done. That has had the same creative team from beginning to end, a couple different artists.
That's great.
Same writer, Jeff Lemire. And it was a very strong run. We were reading the trades, and we have, I think, one more trade to go before we finish it. And it's been a great book, so it's good to see that Jeff, he told his story, doesn't continue going, as he said what he wanted to say, and he stopped. I can respect when creators do that.
Mm-hmm. We also have Talon that's going to be ending. Is this a cancellation?
This is a cancellation.
It's not very good anymore. See, okay, here's a great example. So we got through, the first 5 that were really great? If they had ended it there, I would have said the first 5 were great. Go pick up the trade. Now I'm like, this was really shitty. Just don't even worry about it.
I guess the best part about this book was the Gotham Butcher.
He was
kind of
cool.
a neat character. Yeah, I liked him. I don't know what's going to happen to Calvin Rose. I don't know if they're going to put him in a Justice League team or whatever, but I'm sure he'll pop up every now and again.
Maybe he'll show up in, what is it? Arkham War, when they're reviving the Talons.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see their crossover.
And we know the next Court of Owls story is eventually coming back, so maybe he'll make an appearance there too. Not a bad character, but the series wasn't very strong. Did we really expect it to last too long?
No, probably not. It had, what was it, number 0?
Yeah.
Was so great. Like, I expected to just pick up from there and keep going.
That's the one where he's an escape artist,
yes.
right?
Yep. And they didn't really do a lot with that. I felt like they tried to pull too much from other sources. For example, there were a lot of Batman Beyond that I felt coming from it and not enough of its own thing. Mm-hmm. If they could have made it its own thing, it probably would have been better.
Last bit of news. I don't know if you want to be the one to put down the puppy out back here.
Dustin Wynn. Little Gotham will be ending. Look, I got tears in my eyes. So sad for me. Little Gotham will also be ending.
No Low Gotham for the March solicitation.
No, stop.
I checked Dustin Wynn's Facebook page. No news on it.
Because he's crying too. He's as sad as I am, and he didn't want to break my heart. Unlike some people who just said, "Oh, did you hear?" Because that's what you did.
Yeah, we'll cover Low Gotham later on, but it is sad to see Low Gotham go. Hopefully, Dustin Wynn has another book coming, because we'll just go ahead and pick that up.
Mm-hmm. I will give it this. The point of Little Gotham was to cover the seasons. And once you go through a year of season, I mean, he
The
covered all the
holidays.
holidays. He covered really obscure things and seasons, and he got it all. So how do you continue that for another year?
Right.
You tell a different story about the same thing. You don't want it to feel rehashed. So it had a good run. We'll talk about it more later.
Yep. But that was pretty much everything we learned from the solicitations that at least pertain to us and what we read.
Mm-hmm.
So on to comic books. We start off with Indie, Adventure Time, Candy Capers, number 6 of 6. This is the final issue from Candy Capers. We'll get the next miniseries with The Flip Side coming up next month. This one's written by Ananth Panagariya and Yuka Ota, with art by Ian McGinty. This was kind of like a bit of a slap to the face for readers, because here are the two characters doing all this stuff, and then the ending is kind of like, well, it wasn't really what you guys thought. You weren't really on this mission, and I don't know, like...
Right. It kind of a letdown, I guess. And I was kind of like, Bubblegum, you're kind of a bitch.
Yeah, she was. And normally when I'm like, okay, well, the ending doesn't ruin the whole story, because the rest of the story was great. The journey to the ending was awesome. But the journey here wasn't that awesome.
It wasn't. It was, let's pull in all these B characters and
try to do something with them. But it didn't. It kind of flopped a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I liked seeing, I guess Peppermint Butler and Cinnamon Bun were kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But I think they're better in smaller doses.
Yeah, I agree. This will be my pass of the week.
It might be my pass of the week.
Okay, we'll come back to it then.
Fine. Next is Powerpuff Girls number 4. This is written and drawn by Troy Little.
Doing all the work, Troy.
Good for Troy. He does a great job. The art looks exactly like the show. But this is continuing with him turns the villains nice. And then he's like, great, now that you all love him, I'm going to make him evil again. Because that's what his voice sounds like. I should be a voice actor. Yep, now they're all evil again. And they're trying to, I won't say they're fighting their nature. But it was pretty funny. Because they get turned evil again, but they still kind of think they're good. But then they start doing things like accidentally missing shooting a laser and trying to hit one of the girls and stuff like that. Pretty funny moments. But I thought it was paced really well. You kind of jump between all the different villains really well. The Amoeba Boys were so hilarious.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah, I really liked it too. It's definitely a good series. Mm-hmm. These 4 issues have been very strong, continues the show. Like you mentioned, the pacing is awesome, especially for a comic book, for a kid's comic. You don't feel like it's just going too quick because they're trying to make it simple for younger readers. They're just telling a story, and it's entertaining for all of us, too.
Well, I feel like it's almost that they're going in it trying to write an episode.
Yeah.
That's what it really feels like to me, and it's okay, let me draw the screenshot for this particular scene. Mm-hmm. And it makes for a really great comic. It's really nostalgic to go back and read it. Same with Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just watching another episode, and I think that's great when you can pull that off.
And tell a good story at the same time. Next is moving on to our Marvel book for this week, Cataclysm Ultimate Spider-Man number 2 of 3. It's written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by David Marquez.
Whoa! That's all I gotta say.
You really liked it?
I did. I liked the ending a lot.
I feel like Miles, everything that led up to Ultimate Spider-Man, everything we've read, now is just like, okay, the Ultimate Universe is ending. Let's just let it all go. Let's just see what happens when Miles has to confront his father, and what happens when the rest of these Ultimates have to go up against Galactus, a more powerful Galactus. And it's a fun book. Like, they're not just killing people for the sake of killing them. It's all the characters working together, and you actually care about this universe that's ending, no matter, even if you were just reading one Ultimate book like we were.
Mm-hmm. I will say one thing that I had against it is they randomly threw in that scene where it's a flashback and Miles' dad is going, if you ever become one of those costume freaks, I'll disown you. I'm like, where did that come from? I felt like it was kind of out of left field to make it more dramatic. Mm-hmm. Like, they were like, oh man, we should include this. I'm like, then include it from the beginning of the series. But, very small, minor nitpicking about that.
That was the only misstep of the issue.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Ending, I don't really want to give anything away, but holy shit.
They can read it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys head over to marvel.com/redeem, we have a code for you so you can check out this book for yourself. It's TMA4YJK23X0U.
to the first person to head over to marvel.com/redeem. Let us know on Twitter what you thought at @ReasonsI'mBroke, #Cataclysm.
That'll be it for our Marvel this week. Next, we're going to jump into DC. Batgirl number 26, written by Gail Simone, with art by Fernando Passarin and Jonathan Glapion. This is another oh holy shit book.
Yeah, there's a lot of those this week. Final part to Wanted. A lot of endings this week, too.
Yeah, but this is great. We pick up right where the last one left off, where Batgirl is coming to her father's rescue because Nightfall had sent all her
crew, especially like including the Mirror, who
crazy
was
ladies and guys.
The Mirror.
Pretty sure that was a lady too. But yeah, they have this epic battle in Gordon's house, destroy tons of shit, and it's cool. We get to see Gordon and Batgirl kind of fighting together a little bit, even though so much has happened to break up their relationship.
Exactly. And the way that Gail wrote the two characters, the interaction between the two, it reflected their struggle in trusting one another. And it's especially hard for Batgirl because she knows that he doesn't know that it's Barbara Gordon. So for her, it's especially hard because she can't just be like, look, Dad, it's me. Please trust me. I wouldn't have done this. I didn't really kill your son, like, intentionally. And then for Gordon, the character really speaks for the readers because of how he handles everything at the very end of it.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Over the Edge from Batman, the animated series, season 4. Very similar situation with Barbara Gordon and James Gordon.
I agree. I don't want to give anything away. You and I are going to have to talk because we haven't talked about these comic books yet. We like to save everything for the podcast, but this is one that I really want to talk about because I think it was really powerful, really realistic. Gail does a fantastic job. Woman power. But definitely, guys, check this one out. I don't know that it's my pick of the week. It's not my pick of the week, but it was up there. It was amazing. And if you guys have seen the cover, it's what really happened. I mean, I'll just say that because I went into it thinking, yeah, they just made up this cover to attract readers. Nope, that's it, guys.
Yeah, check it out. Next one is Batman number 26, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo and Dan Mickey. This is the continuation of 0 Year with Dr. Death.
Oh, he's spooky, man. I don't like him.
I love the way Scott's handling Dr. Death with the bone powers and all that. It's
spooky.
It is creepy, and Batman once again gets beat the hell up.
Spooky.
Seems like Scott really likes to punish Bruce Wayne.
He does. But that's what makes Batman Batman. Like, I love it so much. I know I don't know, I guess it's kind of weird. But whenever you see Batman, he's just covered with scars. Or Bruce, is always long sleeves and everything because it's just bullet wounds and knife and all this. It makes him so sexy, man. Like, yeah, scars.
Damage to the human body.
But I love, there's some artists where when you see Batman shirtless, it's just lines. Like,
he's just like a perfect guy or whatever.
No. Just lines of scars.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about? It's so cool. But yeah, I mean, Batman would have to go through that to learn how to not let that happen again.
Yeah, you see, this Batman from 0 Year is very arrogant, if you notice, but he's also right. Like, there's a difference between the arrogance that we see in Batman in the current, New 52 and everything, and then the arrogance that we see here in 0 Year. In 0 Year, he yells at Alfred all the time, and he's not always right. So you do get those moments, and he makes his mistakes. Whereas in, Justice League, when he's yelling at Superman or whatever, he's arrogant, but he's, super right. He's not making any mistakes by yelling at Superman as he is by yelling at Alfred or the Commissioner. So you do see a younger Bruce, a Bruce that thinks he's more invulnerable than he really is. Even after he goes through some trauma that almost ended his life, he's still like, get me my suit. I'm getting out of here. Out of my way. And I'm just like, dude, chill.
Yep. We also get to see some of Gordon's backstory, which I don't know that I liked it. I was like,
I think there's more to it.
I think there is as well, and I think we'll find out in the next issue or two. But it's still a very strong series. Really, really spooky.
Yeah, not our pick of the week, though.
Not my pick of the week, but it was very good. Next is Batman Black and White, number 4 of 6, written by Nathan Edmondson. Dustin Wynn. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Written by Nathan Edmondson, Dustin Nguyen, Mike Aldred, Lee Aldred, Dave Macho Gomez, and Sean Galloway. With art by Kenneth Rocafort, Dustin Nguyen, Mike Aldred, Ruben Pejero, and Sean Galloway.
This is the one you were really looking forward to?
Yes.
Very close to my pick of the week.
Mine as well.
Because of the very first story. Yours would be the second one with Dustin Nguyen.
Yes.
For this
Say it
one,
right.
Dustin Nguyen.
Thank you.
Almost sounds like Trojan Man from the condom commercial.
Maybe he is.
The first story was called Ghost of Gotham. This is the one that was written by Nathan Edmondson. I think what I liked the best about this story was, I don't know the villain's name. The first time I ever saw this villain was in, once again, Batman the Animated Series. It was, I think, season 2, where Batman has to, like, you know, they do that thing where it's raining and that's the only way you can see the guy because he's invisible, or he's stepping through, like, conveniently placed mud or cement. It's never, like, something normal, like maybe mud or dirt. It's always, like, someone just placed cement down and the invisible villain just happens to have to go through it or whatever.
He can't tell the difference between dry and wet cement. And,
yeah. So, but this one handled the character really well because Batman doesn't really win in the end.
It handled him very tragically, I thought, as well.
Yeah, and the art, drawing an invisible character, but then having moments in which Batman's actually making him visible by the way he touches him or punches him or whatever. Doing that in a comic book in a way that's stylish, it's so fun to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a really great story. I agree. Like I said, very tragic. I was kind of surprised when we got to the end of it because I'm like, and that's it?
Yeah.
The second one was pretty cute as well. This one's the one written by Michael Aldred with art by Lee Aldred. It was a Mad Hatter story with the Penguin. And Penguin's like, oh, I'm going to steal your money. And Batman's like, no, you're not. And then he stops him.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's kind of weak. Yeah.
Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah, the third one by Dustin Nguyen called Long Day.
Dustin Nguyen. Thank you, Dustin Nguyen, for making my dreams come true.
I'm glad they included him in this because this is Batman Black and White really showcases some all-star writers and artists, old and new, and Dustin Nguyen should absolutely be included in this.
He's got a great art style. I think the black and white worked really well with his art style as well. But this is kind of going through Batman's days through the different hours starting at twilight. And him, you know, stopping small crimes and, you know, thinking he's stopping crimes when it's really little kids and, you know, saving people from a traffic jam because a bus was about to fall off a bridge. And it all ends with him going to chill with Catwoman.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it should be. Thank you.
Well, his day just got longer, I guess.
Stop. He wouldn't have gone to chill with her if he didn't want to.
It was really good. I think I like Ghost more than Dustin Nguyen's story, but it was a really good story.
Blasphemy. Get out.
Even in the darkest moments was the fourth story. This one involves Killer Croc and Batman saving a citizen of Gotham that I guess was a soldier that is trying to work through the financial crisis. Even when he's homeless after the war and everything, he still stays positive, and that's what Batman admires about this guy.
Right.
Because he sees that Batman always goes through shit with the villains, and there's always people dying that he can't save. But there's this symbol, this man that he saves, that shows him that he can, if the other people can do it, and they're in worse situations, potentially, than he is, then why can't he? He's Batman, you know?
I think that guy was a little bit crazy, though.
Well, everyone in Gotham's a little crazy.
Well, but this guy, Killer Croc's falling on a mouse. He's like, oh no, let me save this mouse.
Mr. Jingles.
What was the one from South Park?
I don't remember.
Something Winks. Pillywinks? If anybody remembers that mouse, let us know on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke. Because I don't remember his name, but I know he crawled out of an asshole, so...
South Park is not for kids.
This last one, kind of funny, but kind of weird at the same time. Really fast-paced. It's called Missing in Action. Lois calls Bruce to hit on him. And then she's like, oh, by the way, Clark is missing. And Bruce is like, well, no wonder it's been so quiet around here. Mm-hmm. And they go to find him. It was really kind of weird. Mm-hmm. Almost really fast-paced. It's, oh, and we found him. Oh, and this. Oh, and that. Gay Superman moment, and done.
Well, I think that calls for...
our theme song.
I
thought we wouldn't have a Superman Loves Batman moment this week.
What did I tell you? What do I tell you every week?
But there was a Superman Loves Batman moment.
Exactly. There was.
He's missing. Batman and Robin go to stop Brainiac.
Mm-hmm.
And who is there? Captured by Brainiac.
Superman.
And what made this a Superman Loves Batman moment is that he's like captured, so he's all wrapped up in Brainiac's like tentacles. Like, oh,
these chains.
These chains I cannot break.
These chains of society.
And Batman throws like a little freeze bomb at Brainiac, but probably doesn't hurt him that much. But at that moment,
Superman's suddenly free.
Like he's like, okay, I'm saved. And that's when we're like, he could have saved himself the entire time, I think. I think he just wanted to be saved by Batman. Like, you saved me again, Batman.
He's probably thinking like, oh, Batman realized I was missing. Batman's like, no, Lois called me.
I wanted to see if you really cared.
He doesn't, Superman. But that's okay.
He really just wanted to stop Brainiac.
He probably called. He's like, hey, Brainy, can you come capture me for the weekend? It's mine and Bruce's anniversary, and I want him to feel special.
On Twitter, actually, Brian Michael Bendis, without even wanting to, posted a Superman Loves Batman moment as well.
What'd he do?
He put up a picture, and I retweeted it. It is a Christmas picture with Batman looking in on the rest of the Justice League celebrating Christmas. He's just looking in on them, very serious because he's outside the league. He's not going to be a part of it. He's part-time, so he says. And everyone is enjoying themselves, except for one person who is on top of the tree, hand on top of the ornament at the very top of the tree, looking out the window at Batman with his hand outstretched. Just inviting Bruce in very happily, like a big smile on his face.
Into the house and into his heart.
And you were saying, it was perfect, that he was saying, all I want for Christmas is you. It's on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke. #Superman Loves Batman.
I legitimately think this is my superpower, is picking out gay Superman moments. Because you show me any picture and I create this elaborate backstory of what he's thinking and the moments leading up to this picture. Can that be my superpower?
It can be, because it makes Superman so much fun.
So much cool.
Much better character.
So I need a superhero name now.
#Superman Loves Batman.
That's my superhero name. Do I wear a hashtag on my chest?
With little hearts and S's and bats.
I agree.
It works
I like
out.
This.
So Batman Black and White, we liked it. That last story was alright. I think we made it better with the Superman Batman thing.
Yes.
But still not our pick of the week.
Nope. Still not our pick of the week. Next up, we have Batman Little Gotham, number 9. Do I have to sing a song for all of Dustin Nguyen's things?
Apparently. Anything Dustin Nguyen related, yeah.
I guess. But this one is written by Dustin Nguyen and Derek Friedhoffs, with art by Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah, this one celebrates, I guess it was like Comic-Con, and then the second one was Labor Day.
Mm-hmm. This is my pick of the week.
Not a bad pick. The cover has the Gray Ghost, a direct reference to Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
In the animated series, if you remember, this Batman, our Batman, the Kevin Conroy Batman, was inspired not by Zorro, but by the Gray Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually coming out of the movie The Gray Ghosts. I think it was The Gray Ghost Strikes Again or something. And he was pretending he was the Gray Ghost. And if you notice in that episode, he says, pretty much Batman outright says that he was trying to be the Gray Ghost when he became the Batman.
So
it was
cool.
fun.
I love that the Gray Ghost was voiced by Adam West.
Yeah.
And that made me so happy.
It was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And this Little Gotham was a love letter. I mean, Dustin Nguyen, if you look at any Newsarama, the latest Newsarama video with Dustin Nguyen as an interview, he says that he uses Batman the Animated Series as his reference point whenever he does a Batman story.
And why not?
You notice it.
Yeah.
It's in the Batmobile that he designs. It's exactly the season 1 through 3 Batmobile. The Gray Ghost. He's in the story. Damian Wayne, okay, but we like Damian Wayne. He's a good character.
You see a little bit in everything that he does. And let's talk about the Labor Day one first, because that was my least favorite. It's following the carpenter lady, and pretty much she's getting phone calls from all these villains. She's trying to take a day off to build her dog a house, and she's getting phone calls from all these villains. I need you to build this. I need you to build that. And it's so funny because you see Batman like in the background of almost all of these about to stop these guys. It's great. And in the end, she gets pissed off at Batman. She's like, because of you, I couldn't have a day off. And he's like, well, now you don't have to worry about it. I locked them all away. She's like, but now I don't have any work.
Yeah.
And just then Alfred calls Batman. And Damien's in the Batcave riding the robotic dinosaur, fighting Batman robots. And he's like, it's a Destroyosaurus Rex or something like that.
Damiensaurus Rex, I think it was. Remember. It was awesome. Yeah, I really liked the backup story, actually. I think I liked it more than the Comic-Con one.
Really?
I really liked the Carpenter. I wish they used her more. Paul Dini handled her really well in Gotham City Sirens, in the Batman Run Detective Comics that she was in also. Mm-hmm. Really good character. I think she's a lot of fun. And I like that Dustin Nguyen used her in this. I know he worked with Paul Dini on those stories, so it's good to see him bring back the character of the Carpenter.
Yeah, it was really good. I think the first one was my favorite because of the message that was behind it. I don't know if you caught the message.
That was a really good message.
It was a great message. But it made me relive, all the conventions that we've been to and how excited I was to go to them. But if you want to share the message.
Yeah, I'll definitely. It's good because this message should be posted on the front of like every comic book ever because should stop a lot of fucking whining that we hear. Damien, the whole time at the convention, he's trying to find this comic book, and he can only find the new version of this hero or this werewolf character
Super
that he's trying
Ninja,
to see.
but he's finding like Super Ninja Werewolf or Super Lady Ninja or something like that.
Right, and Damien says, it's just, I never saw Super Ninja Ghost, my version. It's like they wiped him out of continuity as if he never existed. We hear that a lot. We heard that with the New 52. People were saying, I'm done with comics, blah, blah, blah. But then Batman, almost looking at the camera, looking at the reader, says, Damien, it's just how pop culture works. Characters come and go, revamped and then revisited. But as long as you enjoyed them, remember them, and continue to appreciate them, then that character, your hero or heroine, will always exist.
Burr, 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 burr.
Like every comic in the world could have ended right here with that panel.
Where the world of comics explodes, all the factories set fire.
Every comic book reader goes into Shibalba, like at the end of the fountain.
Not even set fire, they just disappear in white.
Turn into stars.
But yeah, that for me was, the whole story itself was humorous because they go into this convention to find Clayface, and you get to see Damien running around. Is it really Damien?
Yeah, it's Damian Wayne.
It's Damien. Mm-hmm. But he's running around and, seeing all these different characters and doing all the things that we do in conventions. Batman's like, we need to find Clayface. And he's going through this comic book box over here, trying to meet this person over here, taking pictures with Poison Ivy cosplayers. I think my favorite panel was he's standing with a Beast Boy and a Starfire and Raven and Cyborg. Mm-hmm. And he's standing in front. He's like, finally somebody who will listen to me. And I'm like, the Teen Titans. And it's the Teen Titans, the TV show, not the comic book one.
Right.
You get to see Batman meet the Gray Ghost. And he's like, I don't have a lot of time. Just sign those.
Even Batman took a break.
But it was great because I was getting so excited. Like, I was so drawn into the comic. Oh, let's go over. No, Damien, go over there and look at that thing. You know? It was so much fun. And then it had that great message at the end, and I think it really, I felt a lot of the animated series, which, I love that Dustin goes for that. But for me, this was exactly what this comic book is about. It's light, it's funny stories, it's, bringing back my childhood, retelling, further stories of Batman the Animated Series, plus Damien.
Yeah.
Great message. Like I said, that was best message that I've heard about comics in forevs.
Yeah, your pick of the week.
Yes, definitely. I
Excellent
could go
pick.
on and on and on and on about this comic.
Really good pick. Next is Forever Evil Arkham War number 3 of 6, written by Peter J. Tomasi, who's been, again, killing it on Batman and Robin. Mm-hmm. Art by Scott Eaton and Jaime Mendoza. This is Bane trying something new with the Gotham villains.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Trying something new. Every villain now has their plans set. You got Scarecrow over here. You got Penguin making deals with Bane for talons. Mr. Freeze trying to build his own army. So all the pieces are set now. Like, now we know who's working with who. And Bane, I think, is the biggest threat out of all of them. And the reason for this is Bane is actually smart. He's actually trying to outthink everyone as well as outpower them. And he does this, spoiler alert for the issue, by trying to put fear into the villains. And what do they fear? Batman.
Dust and wind. But yeah, I loved that. I forget which character. Was it Penguin? It was Penguin who said it to him.
Yep.
Where he said, you may have gone to your little island and put fear in all these people, but all of us are crazy. We don't fear you.
Mm-hmm.
You're just another crazy like the rest of us. So he's like, fine, I'll be motherfucking Batman.
Yeah.
And builds like this Batman suit. And, it was so cool.
It was like a half page of him, the typical
Shing,
sledgehammer
shing,
with the fucking,
shing.
yeah.
Sparks flying.
Looked very much like Frank Miller's Batman from The Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
It was cool. I liked it. I can't wait for Batman to take him down. Take down Bane Batman. But it was a good issue. I really liked it. Baneman.
Baneman. That's his name now.
Batman.
It was a very good issue. I haven't been liking Arkham War a whole lot, but it was so cool to see Bane in Batman's costume. And I was almost rooting for him now, because I'm like, yeah, Batman.
It's kind of like Batman.
Gonna take down these villains.
Yeah.
On a side note, Killer Croc was cool in here, too. I felt kind of bad for him, because he finally... And I love what they've done with Killer Croc in this.
Ever since that, yeah.
Right.
Villains Month issue.
But Scarecrow offers him Wayne Tower, and so he brings all his people up. Well, now Bane's attacking Wayne Tower. So I think Scarecrow did it just to be an ass.
Yeah, just to bring down Killer Croc again.
Which
He's like the punching bag of Arkham War.
I threw a rock at him. Oh, that was a great episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was... I feel bad for Killer Croc.
I liked it, though. I've been liking Arkham War.
Yep. Your pick of the week?
Not my pick of the week. This next one is, though.
This was a good one. Justice League number 25, written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Reis and Joe Prado.
Now we see what Owlman is really after. Now we see how crazy fucking Owlman really is.
He's a psycho.
Out of his fucking mind.
Wow.
And we sympathized with him.
I did. I was like, oh no, your childhood was so bad.
He did some awful shit, and it almost seems like he regrets it, and he's trying to rebuild it. Mm-hmm. As he did like some unspeakable... we're not going to spoil it.
No.
Especially for a Batman fan. Like, no, this is not how it should have happened.
Now, one thing for you guys to remember, in case you've forgotten, this isn't Bruce Wayne from the alternate universe.
Right.
This is Thomas Wayne Jr., who in our universe is a Talon.
That was part of the Court of Owls storyline.
Which, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, he's a Talon, and he's Owlman. Like, right. I blew my mind. I just realized, I know I'm really behind. Everyone's like, really, Kelly? You're just putting two and two
They're
together.
owls.
But I thought that was really cool. I was like, an owl is the epitome of... An owl has like 20 talons. I don't know how many talons, but...
Yeah, it was a very neat way for them to kind of connect like Owlman into the Talons and the Court of Owls. It kind of fit perfectly. It was a good way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think what I like the best about this issue is we see Nightwing truly in danger, not because Owlman like wants to kill him or anything, but because of the disturbing thing that he wants to do with Nightwing. Like, I almost wish he would want to kill him. It's not sex, guys. Don't. No, it's not something like that.
Don't worry.
But it's Owlman trying to repair unspeakable evil in the past, a mistake that he made, and trying to repair it with a Nightwing that's not his own, not from his universe. And it's like now it got really interesting because now we see why Alfred, doesn't matter what Owlman wants to do, he'll be behind him because it is family, as he says. So at its core, Alfred is still Alfred, even if it is Earth 3 Alfred who's evil. It's still Alfred, and I like that. So it was just a really good issue, strong. I didn't see any weak points in this. It was really good.
Very good pick of the week.
My pick of the week, exactly.
Very good.
Next is Justice League of America number 10, another Forever Evil tie-in. This is written by Matt Kindt, art by Eddie Barrows.
We continue to see Stargirl, and they're still trapped in the mental prison that Flamon... What's his name?
Firestorm.
They're using Firestorm as a prison. I'm sure we'll figure out exactly how that works soon. But I know, what was it, 2 issues ago? We kind of saw that Stargirl couldn't be trapped because
She's the purist or whatever.
But I don't know. But I did like that in this one we get to see that she does. What are you laughing at?
I was going to say Batman hasn't gotten to her yet.
It's the truth. But anyway, I like in this one that we get to see that she does have her faults. I mean, I guess they're faults. It's very family driven. Mm-hmm. You know, we get to see the anxiety that she's going through because she is far away from her family, because she can't be there to help her family, and some of the guilt that she feels for having left them.
Exactly.
We see that that's kind of what causes her prison.
And Martian Manhunter trying to get her out of it and trying to walk her through it. Yeah, this issue was basically all about giving Stargirl a background, giving the New 52 Stargirl a story, and really fleshing out the character. And I think, you know, Jeff Johns did it with this issue, and I'm kind of glad that we're finally moving forward past this. We know where the Justice League is, except for Batman. Batman's fixing stuff.
And Catwoman.
They're
probably doing it, too. I mean, that's, you know...
But now Martian Manhunter and Stargirl looks like they have to step up and try to save the rest of the Justice League.
Mm-hmm. And I think I kind of like Stargirl more as a character because before I felt that they made her almost too perfect. Mm-hmm. And now we see with her background that she's a 16-year-old and
wasn't trying to be famous.
She wasn't trying to be famous. She was being rebellious almost, which I did really like that, you know, she had that conflict with her stepfather and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's something up with him.
Yeah, there is. He doesn't have this technology just
because he got it from a friend.
Right.
So I think we're going to find out somewhere there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to see it with, you know, until this whole Justice Lords thing is resolved? No. But I'd like to see it someday. I just want to get to Crime Syndicate, get it over with, have Batman save the day, have Superman, like, fall into his arms like, oh, it's like so much of my power being in that prison.
Yeah, I can't wait for Forever Evil, actually. Mm-hmm. Seeing Lex Luthor and the rest of the villains take back the DC Universe.
So cool. Finally, we have Legends of the Dark Knight 100-page Super Spectacular #1. This is 2 different stories. The first one is written by Dan Mishkin with art by Tom Mandrake, and the second one is written by Jim Zubkovich and art by Neil Googe.
Yeah, the first story took up most of this book. This book is $9.99. First and foremost, it's $10. Very expensive for a comic book. It's almost the price of a trade. Volume 1 of Court of Owls, I think, is $16.99, $17.99. This one, for an extra $6-7, you can get a much better story.
Yes.
You disliked this one way more than I did, though.
I really disliked this one. Like, if it weren't for this backup story, this would be my pass of the week. I did not. I think I almost stopped reading it halfway through, and it takes a lot for me to almost stop reading something.
Yeah, the first story is called Without Sin.
Ugh.
It is a Two-Face story, but Two-Face isn't really the villain. Although Two-Face is framed, we see that someone else is actually trying to prove a point to Batman and Two-Face through their action. Very heavy on the church and priests and Batman, like in the middle of all that. Too much symbolism with like the cross and Christ falling on Batman and he can't get up. He has to like lift the cross and all that. It's just like, stop it, writer.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and point out all the things that I hated about this.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to point this out because there were a lot. I get the story that the writer was trying to tell. One of the things I hate is when they have pastors and Batman, because we all know Batman's an atheist. Mm-hmm. And the pastors are like, you don't believe, but you should believe. And then Batman's like, but then Batman doubts himself anyway. I'm like, no, Batman is a very confident person. Even if Batman is wrong, Batman doesn't doubt himself. He's like, oh man, could have done that different. Well, let's do this now. Batman doubted himself a lot in this. Something happened with Two-Face and he's like, oh, I made the wrong choice. And the pastor's like, I know, my son.
We are mortal and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, all this stuff. I'm like, just shut up, father.
Like Batman, real Batman, would have dug up all the dirt on this guy, been like, you're one to talk. 5 years ago, blah, 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 blah. That's what Batman would have done.
Instead he's like, oh, yeah, you're right.
And
like,
would have proven a point back to the fucking guy.
Exactly. I didn't like this pastor character that they created that we were supposed to sympathize with. I just didn't like him. I'm like, you're kind of weird.
The thing about that character is he didn't learn anything either. Like,
no, nobody learned anything. And then
Exactly.
I felt like the villain that we finally found was totally out of left field. Maybe I blacked out during some pages when he was introduced, but it felt like a Scooby-Doo episode. Like, literally it did. Like, they're running around, Batman's doubting himself, they're trying to make Batman believe in God, and then suddenly they're like, it was him! And just, but did that happen, or did I black out during some pages?
It pretty much happened like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, father, whatever? And it's like, I would have gotten away with it too if it were,
Yeah, and they do that thing where Batman's like, God left Gotham a long time ago. Like, we've seen the story.
Exactly.
We've heard that line.
It was so cliche. It wasn't like if it was a great mystery and he has to team up with this guy, cool. Like the one with the animated series episode with the mobster and his brother who's the priest.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was fucking awesome.
That was amazing. But this wasn't a good mystery story. Out of left field. I felt like the writer, and it may not have been his intention, but I felt like the writer was trying to say that if Batman believed, then it would be better. And my whole thing is, but Batman is who he is because he doubts everything. And that includes everything.
And he even has plans for when he is wrong himself.
Exactly.
Like in Justice League Doom. Someone took my plans to take down the Justice League. Well, good thing I had a plan in case someone took my plans. Like, holy shit, Batman.
Exactly. And, man, there was just so much that I disliked about this. So much.
Yeah, the next story behind it, which is the one you liked more, was Dr. Quinn's diagnosis. This is the Batman that we were talking about. This is the Batman that we wanted to see because this is a Batman that has a plan again for whatever plan a villain may potentially have. Like, he's thought of everything. He is the world's greatest detective.
So cool. Batman shows up at a warehouse and Harley's there and they're fighting and Harley's kicking his ass. Did you realize why she was... Okay, good. You figured that out. But she's kicking his ass and then she's like, you know what? I'm going to give you a mental diagnosis. And this is when this comic gets great. Mm-hmm. I will point out that there are tons of... I felt this was very Harley. This was very animated series Harley. She had all these different names. Batteroony, Mr. B.
Yeah, I kept saying Mr. J, Puddin'.
Yep, all that kind of stuff. Very Harley.
Classic outfit.
Which was great. I loved, they incorporated her ears a lot. There's one part where Batman grabs her by her ear. Did you see that?
Yeah,
it was so great. So great. I love when that happens. But I think they both, you really get to see that she really is a psychiatrist. She, picks out a lot of things about Batman. He picks out a lot of things about her. So you see, mentally, I won't say they're matched, but yeah, she's Batman, pretty smart.
She is smart. He's still a step ahead of her.
Of course. He's a step ahead of everybody.
He's also kind of stalling as well, which is the best.
So cool.
I think my favorite part of this story, and I know you didn't like it, was when they're talking about Batman's love.
Stop
and
it.
Who he loves.
Just shh. And that's all, guys. Thanks for listening. Hashtag reasons I'm broke. See you next week.
And there's the one panel where she's actually talking about who he actually loves. And Batman's thinking, and it's Talia and Batman together.
I don't know what comic you were reading.
I was like, oh, it's a nice comic book. It was good.
It's all writer interpretation. I think we would like to say, okay, so who do you like more, Jim Zubkovich or Dustin Nguyen?
Dustin Nguyen.
Okay, then. So Dustin Nguyen put him with Catwoman, so we're all good now.
So it was the backup story was better, but honestly, guys, it's not worth the $9.99 price tag. It's only maybe a third of the book, that Harley Quinn story. I kind of wish it had been its own standalone, not part of the 100-page spectacular. But, whatever. It was your pass of the week. Mine was Adventure Time, Candy Capers #6. And for good reason.
I will say, what I don't know if you picked up on it, there is one part in the comic, too, where Harley refers to her as Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Yeah.
Did anybody else watch that show? Because I used to love that show.
I caught the reference.
It was great.
Yep. It was good. And for the final segment of today's podcast episode, we've been doing this for the past couple of weeks now, where we pick out something from 2013 that we enjoyed, something that could improve, or that we were surprised by. For this week, we're actually going to do our favorite series of 2013. Our top 3 for each one of us. The series that we most enjoyed, the one this is a combination of most surprised by, or that met our expectations or stayed consistent. and we're going to cover each one as we go. We're going to do it just like last time, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. I think since I started last time, you can go ahead and start with your number 3.
Okay. My number 3, and, there are a lot of great series out there, a lot of ones that, I think some of your top 3 will definitely be my honorable mentions too. But I picked this one for my top 3 because I didn't know what to expect from it. You think of Batman as, Batman himself, not just offshootings of Batman. And you kind of know what to expect. You're going to get a great story. But this one, I didn't know what to expect, and it blew me away. And, except for 1 or 2 comics that stayed very consistent and told a great story. And woman power, we can all guess it now, it's Batgirl.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Gail has done a wonderful job. I love what she did with the father-daughter relationship in there, because that is a tough one to deal with. Definitely made Batgirl more of a realistic character than I have ever seen her be.
Yeah, and I felt like readers have never felt more in touch with Batgirl, I think, than now with this Wanted story and what Gail's been doing with Batgirl this year. With James Gordon Jr., her brother, and now we finally reached Gordon, which is a more powerful relationship. That's a great number 3. I really liked it. And Gail Simone has had a great year with Batgirl and Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Red Sonja's been really good too.
But I felt like up until this point, Batgirl was just female Batman. It was just to get girls interested in it. And now I feel like even guys can be interested in her story too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a fantastic one. She's done a wonderful job. The death of the family stuff with her was great. With her mom too. Ugh,
yeah,
spooky.
Joker.
Right. But it's, it gives us more insight into Jim as well.
Oh, that's a great pick. My number 3 is actually going to be Green Lantern.
That one was good too.
Yeah, Green Lantern had a wonderful ending with Jeff Johns.
You just like the Sinestro bits where he's like, here's my little Sinestro old man hand.
I'm still alive, so you writers can't kill me now that Jeff Johns is gone. That was in Green Lantern number 20. If you're in any comic book shop and you run across Green Lantern number 20, definitely buy it. It's a great issue. It was one of my favorites this year. I think it was my 3rd favorite comic book. And that's why Green Lantern was my number 3 series, because Jeff Johns put a great end to the Green Lantern.
It was great.
From beginning, Rebirth, and all that. Sinestro Corps War, Blackest Night. It's been really strong, and in 2013, it had one of the best endings that I've ever read to a comic book, if not the best ending.
A very complete ending. It, I don't think it left anybody upset, like, well, now what? So, yeah, that was a great pick, too. That's definitely in my honorable mentions.
Good.
Mm-hmm. For number 2, I have Little Gotham. This was a very light series. I was super excited because it was Dustin Nguyen, and I love his art. I think he is probably my favorite artist. I go on and on about him. But this series did not disappoint. Like we were talking earlier in the podcast, and I don't want to rehash too much, but this is animated series plus. And I'm getting... It came out around the time of Death of the Family, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit before that, maybe.
Yeah, it was right in there. So we were getting such dark and angsty Batman stories, and this was just kind of like a breath of fresh air to kind of pick you back up after you just saw people sewn together with a map across, like just really graphic stuff. And then Dustin Nguyen's like, here, have a little laugh. And I'm like, oh, yay. So I know it's ending, but the art was great. All the stories were great. I don't think there was a single one that I disliked.
So hands down for you, I guess it'd be the best kids book available.
It's not, I won't even say it's for kids. That's for adults. There's some adult things in there.
Yeah.
Catwoman around in a bathing suit. We all know what happens.
With her and Batman.
Yeah.
Great story. Yeah, great series. My number 2 is going to be Batman and Robin.
So good.
This year it had one of my favorite books of all time was Batman and Robin number 18. That was the silent issue where Batman was dealing with Damian's death. And this was the issue in which you saw so much raw emotion coming from Batman in different stages in a little book, in just a short little comic book.
With no words.
And it's going to go down as one of my favorite books of all time as well. It's such a good book. Great year for 2013 for Batman and Robin. This was the year in which we saw that Batman lost more than a partner. He lost his son. And we saw the different stages that Batman went through. The irrational stage, the stage of anger and sadness and depression. But this one just summed it all up perfectly. Again, it was in the issue of Batman and Robin number 18. Great comic book, great series.
Agreed. And my number one, I don't think this is a surprise for anyone either, is Saga.
Good.
I always go on about these. I'm sorry, but they're great. If you guys haven't picked up Saga, please do. There's 2 trades out now.
Yep.
Definitely read it from the beginning. It is... I always find it hard to get into original stories for comic books because you have no knowledge of the characters. With Batman, it's easy because I'm like, it's Batman. Batman's doing cool things and being Batman. But Saga, it is so well written and so well paced, and there's so many characters, and you feel for all of them. Even, I want to say it was 3 issues ago, we met these reporters, and they just came out of the blue, and I'm like, you guys are awesome. I really like these guys. You know, there's, even if you only see them for a second, they write it in such a way that you want to see more of these characters, because they all feel like real people. They don't look like, they're aliens. Physically, there's nothing that makes you connect with them because they're not people, but they are people because they're written so well that they have backstories and things that they're going through that we've all gone through, even though their situations are so different. It's awesome. Go read it. Stop listening to this podcast. Go read Saga.
Saga, your best comic book series of 2013?
Yes.
My number one, again, no surprise either, will be DC Comics' Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. We saw Death in the Family, and we're seeing now Zero Year. A Death in the Family was such a great follow-up to Court of Owls. The Joker stories, anytime the Joker comes in, he makes an impact, and it's no exception with this one. We saw we couldn't even wait to go to our comic book shop to pick up, that final issue of Death in the Family. We bought it on Comixology. We're like, fuck it, we'll buy it later also, but Comixology, I gotta read this.
We can't go to the comic book shop till 2 hours from now. Let's buy it now.
So it was so awesome. Death in the Family was great. I'm really liking Zero Year, especially that Batman number 24 issue. That's the one that has that one page it has the Joker, the New 52 Joker origin. And it was one of my favorite issues this year. That's the one with Batman getting that rocket launcher shot at him. And he's cool. Everyone else scrambles, but he's fine. And he's looking back. Greg Capullo was technical with everything that he did in this issue. And, Batman's the best book that DC Comics is putting out. Mm-hmm. Hands down.
Agreed. Yep. I like all these comics. Can all of them be number one?
Great stuff. So that was our favorite series of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do something else next week as we wrap up and say goodbye to 2013.
Man, goodbye 2013.
Great year.
Yeah, it was a great year.
Great year for comics, great year for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment's awesome right now. Great announcements with Batman versus Superman, and now we have Wonder Woman in the movie.
Superman loves Batman.
And I think that will do it for this week, though.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us at several places. First off, on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke. Let us know what made you broke this week. #ReasonsI'mBroke.
And you can listen to our podcast through iTunes. Just search The Reasons I'm Broke. Please leave us a comment or rating. It helps other people find us.
Also, if you don't have iTunes or if you don't have access to YouTube, which is where we put them up as well, IPP Podcast. It's a great app for your Android phone, and you're able to pull up all of your favorite podcasts, including ours here at The Reasons I'm Broke. Just do a search, The Reasons I'm Broke.
They have other favorite podcasts? I thought we were the only one.
You're like, it's the only one I listen to.
Yeah, it's the only one I listen to.
And then, of course, YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Check out our YouTube page. We do put up the podcast there, as well as a lot of unboxing videos. If you haven't checked those out, definitely do so.
Thank you for joining us again this week. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
See you next week.